New tonight, NBC News reports that first son Hunter Biden joined meetings with the president and senior staff this week in the West Wing. Reaction from senior staff described as, what the hell is happening?
He blamed the extensive foreign travel that he did in the lead up to the CNN debate for his poor performance. Then he apparently said, I almost fell asleep on stage.
Very probing in his questions, very analytical, very calm about things. When you go into brief him, Major, you better really know your topic.
That doesn't look anything like the president that I know. When I deal with him, he's sharp.
Understand the concerns. We get it. The president did not have a great night. The president had a cold. I'm not as smooth as I used to be. I don't debate as well as I used to. I don't walk as easily as I used to.
If this is an episode or is this is a condition, which one is it?
Well, what I can tell you is that he had a cold and a bad night. We really, truly want to turn the page on this.
As the Biden campaign continues to spiral out of control, losing its grip on the Democratic Party, they've introduced their secret weapon, Joe Biden's crackhead son. Yes, you heard that correctly at the beginning of the video. They now have Hunter Biden sitting in on meetings at the White House, which really shouldn't come as much of a surprise considering that Hunter Biden has been a part of the Biden family business for a couple decades now. And by family business, of course, I mean influence peddling. One entertaining aspect of this is we may get another cocaine found in the White House headline. Aside from that, the timing is wild that you would allow him to be sitting in on meetings right after he became a convicted felon on gun charges, especially given the fact that the Biden campaign has been constantly mocking Donald Trump for becoming a convicted felon after the political prosecution.
Breaking news, we're now learning that Hunter Biden is attending some of the president's meetings at the White House, staying close to his father post-debate.
We have learned from sources familiar with the situation at the White House that Hunter Biden has been by his father's side ever since they were at Camp David this weekend as a family, where they had some discussions about the president's potential path forward here and his re-election campaign, and that since he returned from Camp David last evening with his father, we understand that Hunter Biden has even joined some meetings and conversations that have taken place between the president and some of his most senior advisors and senior staff.
Biden has been in some meetings with senior advisors. Why is the president's son involved?
So a couple of things I saw that reporting as I was coming out. So a couple of things there. Look, the president, as you know, is very close to his family. This is a holiday week, 4th of July. He spent time with his family, as you all know, and reported at Camp David. Hunter came back with him and walked with him into that meeting, that speech prep, and he ended up spending time with his dad and his family that night. That is basically what happened. It is a week where there's going to be more family members who are going to come to the White House. I'm sure you'll see some of them on 4th of July. Many more are expected to be here.
No issue with family being in the White House. The question, though, would be, is he participating in meetings with senior advisors?
What I can say is that he came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep, and he was in the room. That I can tell you, he was in the room.
The campaign also has a new excuse for Biden looking like the dementia-riddled puppet president that he is on the debate stage. It started off by saying it was a cold, then they blamed the format, and then they said even the lighting was bad. And now they moved on to he was tired from all of his travel.
President Biden has made it very clear. How many times does he have to say it, that he did not have his best night? He said it at a fundraiser last night in McLean, Virginia, that he was tired. You've noted on this show, Mika, many times that, he traveled twice around the world. He was exhausted.
So I went and looked at his schedule, and this is one of the most laughable propaganda narratives you could ever try to push on the American public. The debate itself was on June 27th. After doing a fundraiser in Los Angeles, the Bidens then went to their beach house in Delaware. Then on Wednesday the 19th, he had a 10 a.m. daily brief and a 10 a.m. call, and that was it for his schedule on the 19th. Then on the 20th, he had his 10 a.m. daily brief, and then he traveled to Camp David for debate prep. Then he did nothing except for debate prep or receive a daily brief on the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. And then on the 27th, he received his daily brief and he traveled to Atlanta for the debate. So again, the Biden campaign is saying he was tired from traveling to Europe twice, despite the fact that he had a week to do nothing except debate prep.
apparently the president apologized to everyone in the room, saying this is not an excuse, but it is an explanation. And he blamed the extensive foreign travel that he did in the lead up to the CNN debate for his poor performance. Just a reminder for everyone, he did go to France for the D-Day anniversary, and then he turned right back around and went to Italy for the G7 summit. And he told the room, I didn't listen to my staff. So the suggestion there being his staff did not think this was a good idea. And then he apparently said, I almost fell asleep on stage. I just want to unpack this new explanation for a second, as the explanation for why his debate performance was so bad. I find it a little bit puzzling, and frankly, I'm not sure that a lot of people are going to find this reassuring. If anything, some folks might hear this and be, even more concerned. Yes, there were 2 foreign trips in the lead up to the June 27th CNN debate, but he returned from Italy on June 15th. The debate, again, was on June 27th. So we're talking about roughly 12 days in between when he was back in the States. And remember, a part of those 12 days, about a full week, he actually spent with his advisors at Camp David for the sole purpose of really focusing on debate prep. So why is the president falling asleep on the debate stage at the hours of 9 p.m. to 10:30?
The paper reports, quote, Mr. Biden was drained enough from the back-to-back trips to Europe that his team cut his planned debate preparation by 2 days so he could rest at his house. In the weeks and months leading up to the debate, several current and former officials and others who encountered him behind closed doors noticed he increasingly appeared confused or listless or would lose the thread of conversations. This is all from the New York Times. The paper continues, quote, like many people his age, Mr. Biden, 81, has long experienced instances in which he mangled a sentence, forgot a name, or mixed up a few facts, even though he could be sharp and engaged most of the time. But in interviews, people in the room with him more recently said the lapses seem to be growing more frequent, more pronounced, and more worrisome.
President Biden had just told donors that he nearly fell asleep on stage during Thursday's debate because of all of his international travel. Does that raise any concerns for you?
Yeah, well, I just read about that like everybody else. I know this is, hearsay or could have been paraphrased from people in the room, so unsure exactly what he said. But, the president does do a lot of travel. I mean, he was traveling, crisscrossing the entire world, then going right to Camp David, obviously prior to the debate. So we want to hear more about what he said.
I think it's just getting a little silly here that we're talking about one night in this presidential campaign where, yes, he had a bad night. But why are we letting that, continue to make the news about what's at stake in this race?
And speaking about stakes, you just came out of a fundraiser. We know that many in your party have expressed concerns about President Biden's health. Just this morning, Congressman Doggett said that he's calling on President Biden to withdraw from the race, given that there's too much at stake to risk a Trump victory. What's your response to this?
Look, Joe Biden is our nominee. We beat Trump once, and we're going to beat him again, period.
Are you ready to lead the country if necessary?
I am proud to be Joe Biden's running mate. Thank you.
Quote, in the weeks and months before President Biden's politically devastating performance on the debate stage in Atlanta, several current and former officials and others who encountered him behind closed doors noticed that he increasingly appeared confused or listless or would lose the thread of conversations. Have you ever heard any accounts like that or witnessed that?
No, I've got to say that doesn't look anything like the president that I know. When I deal with him, he's sharp, he's asking tough questions, and he's speaking, I think maybe most importantly, speaking passionately about what matters to him.
It's not just current Biden administration officials that are helping with the propaganda narrative. They're now rolling out Anthony Fauci to defend Biden as well.
It just looked like a bad night because my interaction with him was what I describe in the book. And what happened even subsequent to what I described in the book after I got out, he's very probing in his questions, very analytical, very calm about things. When you go in to brief him, Major, you better really know your topic because he's going to ask you very relevant questions. And he's very reflective on things and just doesn't jump out with conclusions or anything, but is very analytic. So my interactions with him, I have to say, have been very, very positive.
Did you see the debate?
I did.
Did anything about that, what you saw, medically alarm you?
I can't say. I think it would be inappropriate to say that, Major, because when you're just looking at someone on a one-shot basis, you just don't know what could happen. Did he have a bad cold? Did he take an antihistamine to make him, groggy or what have you? We don't know what went on. And I think it would be unfair and inappropriate to try and diagnose something from just a 90-minute clip.
If the president needs to find schedule accommodations to help to facilitate his focus on advancing our country on behalf of next generations, let's find those accommodations. But let's be clear about what's at stake.
But Senator, with all due respect, look, I love a good nap, but the presidency is a 24/7 job. I think that is alarming to people, that even for debate prep, that is something that President Biden requires?
Is that a question, Abby?
Is it alarming
to you?
Are you concerned about? You don't have that concern at all. You're not concerned about that at all?
Look, let's look at what the president has done.
Next, we have a train wreck of a press briefing with Karine Jean-Pierre. She has consistently defended Biden with her propaganda about his mental acuity, but that's becoming increasingly more difficult considering the fact that the media has completely turned on Biden and is now helping push the narrative that he needs to step down as the candidate. It was just a few months ago that she hung up on a radio show because they asked whether or not Biden had dementia.
When I told a number of people that I was talking to you today, it was interesting, though. They all said, would you please just ask her, does the president have dementia? So before I move on from that, does he?
Mark, I can't even believe you're asking me this question. That is an incredibly offensive question to ask.
But people ask it.
Wait, no. Mark, you're taking us down this rabbit hole. Let me be very clear about this. For the past several years, the president's physician has laid out in a comprehensive way the president's health. This is a president, if you watch him every day, if you really pay attention to his record and what he has done, you will see exactly how focused he's been on the American people, how historic his actions has been. And so I'm not even going to truly, really, take the premise of your question. I think it is incredibly insulting, and so we can move on to the next question.
Gas prices and grocery prices, then, big topics here in North Carolina. How does Mr. Biden win votes when people don't have as much disposable income?
Look, the president understands. He grew up in a middle-class family, working-class family in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He gets it. He understands how difficult it is for Americans who are sitting around their kitchen table every month trying to figure out what they're going to pay for. You have to remember when the president walked into this administration, there were multiple crises happening. There was COVID. There was the economy was in the tailspin because of the last administration, because of what the President Trump left us with. Now you're asking me about gas prices. The president took action on gas prices. Let's not forget Russia's invasion on Ukraine skyrocketed prices of gas. And because the president took action, we are in a different place than we were a year ago on gas prices. Eggs, milk, seafood products, all the important groceries, those costs have gone down because of what this president has been able to do. And with that, thank you so much, Mark. Have an amazing, amazing day.
Wow. And she hung up.
Wow. So now I'm going to play some of the best clips from her press briefing where she is getting questions from all sides of the media about Biden's mental state. But the first clip is how she started off the press briefing by celebrating the fact that Joe Biden chooses his judicial nominees based on race.
President Biden appointed Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman to be on the Supreme Court, and has appointed more black women to the federal appellate court than every other president in history combined. Let me just step back for a minute and I guess deal with the questions that have come in about the debate. And honestly, this is something that the president has addressed himself multiple times since this past Thursday. And first of all, I want to say we understand the concerns. We get it. The president did not have a great night, as you all know, and many of you reached out during the debate. The president had a cold. He had a hoarse voice. You all heard it. That's why you reached out. But I will say this, and the president said this, over the past couple of days, certainly right after the debate. He knows how to do the job. And he knows how to do the job, not because he says it, because his record proves it. Because for 3.5 years, almost 4 years, the president's record has been unprecedented.
Okay, well, you continue to say it was just a bad night, but is there an explanation then for why it was so bad? If it's not his stamina, if he prepared, as you guys say, for so long, if it's not a problem with his mental fitness, what happened that night? What did we see?
I will also add that the president also spoke to this as well. He said, I'm not as smooth as I used to be. I don't debate as well as I used to. I don't walk as easily as I used to. But one thing that he knows is how to deliver for the American people. He understands that. He understands that he's not a young man, obviously. He said this.
Pelosi said it's a legitimate question to ask if this is an episode or is this is a condition. Which one is it?
Well, what I can tell you is that he had a cold and a bad night. I would not see this as an episode. I would see this as what it was and what we believe it to be, which is it was a bad night. And he did, on top of that, he had a cold. And that is the reality of the situation. That is the reality of what happened that night.
The administration strongly criticized the media for clips showing the president appearing to be confused, freezing at times, and you called it cheap fakes, misinformation, disinformation. In one case, even implied that it was the product of artificial intelligence, calling it deep fakes. Do you have any regret over using that language?
Not at all. Not at all. And let me be clear, it was a certain part of the media. And, I mean, you can speak to this better than I can. A certain part of the media which was doing this. And look, independent, mainstream fact checkers in the press and misinformation experts have been calling out cheap fakes. And at the end of the day, they're fakes. That's what they were. Targeting the president. They had said, the reporters and these misinformation experts said that this president was being targeted. And what we did was echo them. That's what we did. And look, we'll certainly continue to call that out. And the cheap fakes didn't come from me. I didn't coin that. That didn't come from this White House or this podium. That came from the media. They called it cheap fakes. And they said this president, President Biden, was being targeted on misinformation. It was purposefully being done to this president. And what we did is we echoed that. So I don't regret it at all. It was just the facts. This year, the president has done more than 40 interviews. And unscripted, right? Those interviews are unscripted. He has done more than 500 gaggles, right? Of course, unscripted, talking directly to many of you. No, let me just finish. And so he enjoys doing that. He enjoys engaging with all of you. And we're going to continue making sure that happens.
People that we've talked to describe an accelerating series of episodes, moments when, over the course of the last several weeks, the president appeared confused or listless or would lose the thread of a conversation in private meetings at the G7, in Normandy, at the White House. Not all the time, not saying that that's the way he is all the time and that there's clearly moments people say that he's forceful and with it and all of that. But these people suggest that that what happened, what Americans saw at the debate, has a precursor. What do you say to that?
So I want to be mindful and respect your reporting. I have not read it. I have not seen it, so it's hard for me to respond to it directly. But what I can speak to more broadly is that I have engagement with the president pretty regularly. What I see is a strong, resolute president who's always willing and able to work on behalf of the American people. I do not know who these folks are that you speak of, so it's hard for me to talk about that and to speak to that. I can just speak to my experience and go back again on the president's record and what he's been able to deliver on behalf of the American people. So I do want to be mindful.
Was there any other medication he had taken? That's what many of them are asking.
No, I understand. I was asked about the cold medicine. I asked about the cold medicine. He was not taking any cold medicine. And I don't have anything beyond that. I don't have anything beyond that to share. And look, I've answered this question multiple times at this point. I don't have anything else to add beyond what I have shared with your colleagues here in the room. We really, truly want to turn the page on this.
I'm going to ask something delicate, and you may not like it. The president may not like to hear it if he's watching, but I think the American people need to get a yes or no answer on this. Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, or degenerative illness that would cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know?
I have an answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question.
I just think the question, it's the way we look at our elderly parents and grandparents. It's you maybe visit them once a year and you see troubling signs because you don't live in the same city perhaps, and the first question that you go to is, I wonder if this is like a one-time thing or if it's something that has been happening for a longer time that we need to deal with. And the second question is,
you're going multiple times.
Where are they going to be in a year? Where are they going to be in 2 years? Do we need to put them in a home? All of the questions that go through that, and this is sort of the American people's version of that.
I hear, and I hear you, and that's what I'm saying. Look, this is why the president goes through, medical examinations, right? And we release those medical examinations, right? We've done that the past couple of years. We're going to continue to do that. This is why we're going to go out there and continue to be out there and do interviews and talk to the American people. And at the end of the day, I got to be careful, right? Because we are in a campaign season. But the American people will see for themselves, right? And I just want to be super, super careful. But look, this is a president that has worked incredibly hard for the American people. And he, not just as president, as vice president, as a senator. And he is committed. And we cannot take away from the fact of his 3.5 years of leadership, what that has been able to do, what he's been able to get done. And that doesn't come from, that doesn't come easily. And he did it in historic fashion. He did. And the data proves that. And so, look, he's committed to continuing to make that progress, continue to work, whether it's climate change, whether it's the economy, whether it's healthcare. That is what he is committed to doing. And, he had a bad night. He did. And we are admitting that, owning up to that. You heard the president speak to that, and I think that's important for the American people to hear from us and from him as well.
Well, the motivation behind that press conference was clear because Karine Jean-Pierre said it plainly. We want to turn the page. We want America to turn the page. We are hoping to turn the page. I mean, she said it 3 times. That was quite clear. The page is not turning because there was a lack of answers to the critical fundamental question that was being asked, which is, what happened? What happened that all of America saw? So Karine Jean-Pierre kept saying, we're not trying to ignore reality. We understand and acknowledge what America saw and witnessed, and that was a really bad night, and that was a bad debate. And we acknowledge that. But she does not offer one bit of evidence or reasoning or rationale for why. Why did America see what they saw that night? And there were a lot of questions asked by the White House press corps. Can we get more medical records? Can you bring the doctor in here and make them available? Is it time to do a cognitive test? You didn't do one in the last. And there was just none acceptance of that kind of a premise. It was just one bad night. We acknowledge that. But she's missing explaining to the country fundamentally why.
Please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say?